Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Understanding Behavior live stream. I'm so glad you're here to meet with me live, and we're going to talk about verbal behavior today. It's going to be a blast. How's everybody doing tonight? Good to see you all here. All these lovely faces and names. I guess not faces, but I see your names in chat. It's great to see everybody. We've had an amazing week at Understanding Behavior. We've had so many more students passing the exam, which is totally really cool. Most of them have been attributing their success to the Behavior Beast Slayer course. So if you're looking for a really comprehensive review of the BCBA exam that isn't so aversive like BDS, isn't boring like BAS, and gets more to the point as opposed to study notes ABA, then definitely check out the Behavior Beast Slayer course on the Understanding Behavior shop. You can find the link here in chat. It is the most comprehensive and most thorough and most effective tool out there to pass this exam, and so many students have been using it. And if you haven't yet and you're struggling or trying to find that motivation to study a little bit better, this is the resource that you need. I guarantee that you're going to love it. So go ahead and check that out. Today we are going to go over verbal behavior. We've got some great stuff packed into this presentation. We're going to go over a little bit of history of verbal behavior, and then we'll go over everything that you need to really master this concept. Woo! We've got Stony PA Boxing. Finally made it to the live stream. I'm so glad that you're here. Yay! Is anybody here for the first time in a live stream? Anybody else? I know our Monday and Wednesday streams have been filling up. We actually don't do Tuesday streams, but Monday and Wednesday have been filling up really fast. So what's nice about these YouTube streams is that we can have an unlimited amount of people here. So make sure you get your friends here if they aren't here already. Nice, we've got Gretchen here for the first time. Welcome. We've got Siobhan. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Cool, we've got Sedona and Brittany here for the second time. Glad you guys made it back. We've got Kaylee here for the first time. Welcome. Allie's back after a break. Love to see it, love to see it. Well, cool, welcome guys. I'm so glad that you can make it here tonight. I know, we can't do a second Zoom because on our Zoom, you can only have one person, or like you can only have one meeting open at a time. But if you do miss those meetings, you are able to access them in the study notes recording package, which is just $20 for a month access. This has all of Molly and Crystal's Zooms meetings from Mondays and Wednesdays. You can also get the notes in this package. It's only $20. Honestly, it's our best like bang for your buck. So if you're on like a really tight budget and you want to get some quality study materials, this is a really great option. But if you want the best things that we have out there, the Behavior Beast Slayer course is really the way to go if you want to master everything and do so with confidence. Awesome. Cool. Nice, Marichu. Good to have you back. Perfect. All right, well, like I mentioned, today we're going to go over verbal behavior. My name's Nick Ostosh. If you don't know me, I'm the founder here at Understanding Behavior, and we've got a wonderful presentation ready to go for you. Also, we're going to do some giveaways. So if you're here new to an Understanding Behavior stream, you'll quickly find out that the way to trigger these giveaways is to hit that thumbs up like button. The sooner we meet our magic number for our like counter, the sooner we'll do a giveaway. If we get that like counter to a really high number, we might do more giveaways where we might even make the giveaways a little bit better. Maybe we'll even give away something like the Super Ultimate Mock Bundle, which is almost a $200 value. So make sure you hit that thumbs up like button if you haven't already. And we're going to go ahead and get into our content. Just catching up in chat here. Nice, Hallie. 390 is good. I'm confident you're gonna get your next one. It's okay to take a week off. Totally cool. Congrats. You're almost there, Hallie. You got this. I see Alyssa Brennan just passed her test yesterday. Congratulations. Love it, love it, love it. We've had so many students passing, and it's great to see, especially the people that have been with us for a little while, finally meet the mark. Hallie, I'm confident you're going to get there soon. So keep crushing. I'm glad you're back here at it. And yeah, let's keep going. Let's get nerdy. We're talking verbal behavior. So here's our agenda for tonight. First, we're going to talk about what is verbal behavior by Skinner's definition. We'll talk about the difference between form versus function of a behavior. We'll talk a little bit about verbal versus vocal behavior, audience versus speaker roles. Then we're going to break down the ABCs of all of our verbal operants. Then we'll talk about formal similarity and point-to-point correspondence. After that, we'll get into tricky types of questions, how the BCBA exam is going to try to trick you with verbal operant questions. And then we'll do a quiz where I'll try to trick you with verbal operant questions. But hopefully you'll be prepared by then, because we're going to give you everything that you need to crush that. Nathan in chat, can I shout out my dad, Chris? He loves our videos. Yeah, Chris, what's up? Hell yeah, brother. Let's get nerdy. Awesome. I love that. All right. Well, starting off, we're going to talk about what is verbal behavior. Verbal behavior was a text that Skinner wrote in 1957. This was actually the first text that Skinner wrote that was not an experimental thing. It was more of a theoretical text, which was kind of interesting because Skinner wrote all of his work based off of the experiments that he did in the Skinner box and in the rat lab. Yeah, if you read verbal behavior, it's a very dense book. It's a thick one, and each paragraph is just loaded with information. It's a very difficult text. A lot of people say that it's Skinner's most difficult text to get through. Honestly, I didn't even get through all of it. It's very complex, but there's really good stuff in there, and but I'm going to distill the most important things that you'll need, especially for the BCBA exam here. So Skinner defines verbal behavior as behavior that's reinforced through the mediation of other persons. So essentially that it's behavior that's reinforced by other people. But he also elaborates on this, but these other persons must be responding in ways which have been conditioned precisely in order to reinforce the behavior of the speaker. So not only is other people reinforcing these behaviors, but the people that are reinforcing these behaviors have been conditioned to reinforce these behaviors in a very specific way. So that's how Skinner defines verbal behavior. I think this first part is really the most important, is that behavior reinforced through the mediation of other persons. If you don't want to get this monster definition down, this captures most of what you need out of the definition. Let's talk a little bit about function versus form of language. So form of a response is essentially what the behavior looks like. This can include the type of verbal utterance, so it can include it can include like a vocal speech. It can include writing a text or giving like some kind of hand signal. Any kind of different type of verbal utterance is going to relate to the form. But form also relates to the specific words, phonemes, and grammar that are used in the verbal response. So not only do we need to think about form as just like the type of verbal utterance, but we need to also think about the content of like what does that communicate as well. All of that goes into form. So a lot of study of language has mostly historically been focused on form, and really until Skinner came along, it was all focused on form. But Skinner also noted that it's important to focus on the function of behavior, and as behavior analysts, we heavily study function of behavior, which is the history of context and consequences of these verbal responses. So we want to think about the context, so like what antecedents trigger the response, and the consequences, so what maintains that response, what is the reinforcer for that response. So verbal behavior was a pretty profound text because it was the first text to really shift that linguistic perspective to include both form and function, where historically analyses of language were only focused on form but not on function. Like, why did this behavior occur and what context and consequences follow behavior? Verbal behavior also was the first text to really show that like language is not necessarily innate, but it is learned. So we're not just born with like amazing language producing abilities. These responses are conditioned, but humans tend to have like this tendency to build language and acquire it a little bit faster than other species, which is a big advantage of being human. But again, language can be explained by our environmental contingencies. So if we analyze what the reinforcement and the context that these occur, then we can get a empirical analysis of language. So, Noam Chomsky was one of the biggest critics of Skinner, and when Skinner released his text in 1957, Noam Chomsky is a pretty like known like philosopher and political figure, and essentially like I think he just missed the point of VB, and he was a huge critic of verbal behavior and was just like, no, this is all bullshit, Skinner, like humans are just special, and he'd like to explain humans that we have like language is due because like humans have a language acquisition apparatus inside of us that makes us special. And I'm just like, that's so dumb. Like there's never been studied like that we have like some kind of like language acquisition apparatus, and humans in general like to think that humans are really special, but really we're just animals that are subject to our own environments. This analysis was just completely dumb, and like he didn't even like understand what Skinner was trying to explain in verbal behavior, and like no, like the context and consequences of verbal behavior is like really important, and we can actually like shape and change it, and not only like shape and change it, but we can just see like, hey, different cultures use some language and different cultures use different languages, and how that like forms a perspective and what verbal behavior we engage in. So like just completely disregarded the whole textbook. It's like, nah, this is like too hard to understand. Just the language acquisition apparatus, definitely the thing here. But Noam Chomsky, like he really put this text in the gunner for a while. It wasn't until like the 70s or 80s when one of Skinner's students, Jack Michael, he picked up verbal behavior and was like, whoa, we can actually like use this in applied settings. And if you're familiar with Dr. Jack Michael, a lot of his work was like the very first applications of applied behavior analysis. And he was a big studier of verbal behavior. He had like one of his first studies was actually looking at schizophrenic patients and looking at like them rambling, and it's like, hey, if we kind of like change the consequences of like these schizophrenic rambles, like will they decrease? And you know, turns out they do. Another fun fact here is that Chomsky was found donating money to Jeffrey Epstein. If that says anything about his character, I'll let you be the judge of that. I know like the Epstein files are a pretty big hot topic right now. So Noam Chomsky is still alive today. Obviously Skinner has passed. Yeah, if that says anything about his character, I'll let you be the judge of that. All right, moving on from our little history lesson, let's talk about the difference between vocal and verbal behavior. So the easiest way to understand the difference between these is think about vocal as produced by your vocal cords. So these are specifically going to be speech utterances. Where verbal communication is a much broader category. So this is, again, communication that's mediated by another individual, according to Skinner's definition. So the easiest way to, if you're getting these two mixed up, is vocals produced by your vocal cords. Most vocal responses are verbal behavior. So think about verbal as like the bigger category, and then there's different types of verbal behavior, including vocal behavior under that branch. Cool, cool. Boop, 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 boop. Barbara's asking, is eye contact considered verbal behavior? It depends on the context and consequences. We'll get to that in a bit. But it could be. It really depends. Cool. Well, we've got a great crowd here already. We've got 94 people here, 52 likes on our video. I think it might be a good time to do our first giveaway. What do you guys think? So we'll do a giveaway for one of our Beat the Beast mocks. We actually have 3 full-length mock exams out now. We've got Beat the Beast 1, Beat the Beast 2, and Beat the Beast 3, which is turning out to be our most difficult mock to date. So winner of this first giveaway will be able to choose their pick if they want any of these Beat the Beast mocks. If you're missing any of them or you'd like to retake one of them, you're more than welcome to participate. To do our random giveaway, we'll pick a number between 1 and 500. Each person can guess one number. The closest person is now going to win their choice of Beat the Beast mocks. So if you want to participate, go ahead and throw a number in the chat, 1 to 500. Closest number will be our winner. 1 guess per person. Multiple guesses will be disqualified. Late guesses will be disqualified as well. Somebody tried to trick me with that last week. I'm like, no, I'm smarter than that. All right, cool. Numbers are rolling, and the like counter is even going higher. We've got 100 people here. Love to see it. Let's see if we can get that even higher, and we might even do a juicier giveaway later. So if you haven't yet, make sure you hit that thumbs up like button. Okay, we're going to give you guys maybe 10, 15 more seconds. Yeah, the beastliest beast of all. Beat the Beast 3. The mock does not mess around. All right, we're gonna make Carrie Stevenson the last responder here. Our number is 180. All right, who's close to 180? Help me out here in chat. I've seen Lisa 160. We gotta have a little close on that. Okay, we got Pete 169. Okay, so 11 off. Let's see, is anybody closer? We got 180. We have 169 as our closest I see so far. I think it might be Pete here at 169. Does anybody see anybody closer? $198. That is not as close as 169. Yeah, 198 is farther off. It's 18 off instead of 11. I think Pete is our winner for this one. Congratulations to Pete Gordon. All right, awesome. Well, send me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com. Let me know which Beat the Beast mock that you would like, and we'll send it over your way. Congrats to Pete. All right, again, make sure you're hitting that like button, and we'll do some more giveaways later. Looking good, looking good. All right, so we talked about vocal versus verbal. Let's talk about audience versus speaker roles right now. So whenever we're doing an analysis of a verbal response, we always want to frame our contingency around the speaker. It kind of makes sense, like when we're doing any kind of ABC contingency, like we always have it framed around whose behavior that we're analyzing. So the speaker is going to be the person that whose behavior we're analyzing in these contingencies. So this is really important because like depending on our frame, it's going to change what's going to be a stimulus and what's going to be a behavior. So when we're analyzing my behavior, then your verbal responses are acting as stimuli to me. But when we're analyzing your verbal behavior, then my verbal responses are going to be a stimulus to you. So really important to get that frame of reference down when we're looking at the difference between audience and speaker roles. The audience can be a current audience, or it can be a broader verbal community. So this can be like the people that are directly in front of you, or it can just be like the community that you're used to or are like more familiar with interacting with. So like, for example, like if I'm talking about behavior analysis, and especially like when I'm teaching people for the BCBA exam, then my audience is people that already have their master's degree and are learning behavior analysis. Where if it's somebody that knows absolutely nothing about behavior analysis, so if I'm like talking to like my paragliding friends about behavior analysis, like I'm discussing it in a totally different way. Like I'm never going to use that word contingency. I'm explaining everything in a totally different way. So those are different audiences, and they're going to control different repertoires of my verbal responses. So again, that's kind of like the stimulus control factor of verbal behavior, where it's like if I'm teaching and I'm talking to students with master's degrees in behavior analysis, that's going to evoke way different responses than if I'm talking to people that don't know anything about behavior analysis. When we're analyzing covert verbal behavior, that's going to, another word for that would just be like thinking. You serve as both the audience and the speaker. So thinking gets a little bit weird because like you're both the speaker and the audience, and that can get weird sometimes, but that's the proper way to analyze thinking is it's just covert verbal behavior where we're playing both roles. Note that like thinking, it doesn't mean that it's like immune to the environment. Like your environment is going to control your thoughts as well. But in the moment of like those thoughts occurring, like you're serving as both those audience and speaker roles, but your environment can evoke like different responses depending on what you're experiencing. Yes, Barbara saying we're an SD for you. So yes, you guys are an SD for me to get really nerdy about behavior analysis, which is like one of my favorite things to do if you didn't notice. All right, cool. So let's talk about like what is a verbal operant. This word operant, I feel like a lot of students get lost on it, and to be honest, like it took me even like after I became a BCBA to like fully understand this term. But an operant, really simplified, is just going to be a behavioral contingency. So think about it as like an ABC relationship, antecedent, behavior, consequence. So verbal operants are essentially just behavioral contingencies that are reinforced by other individuals. So kind of, again, relates back to that initial definition that we pulled from Skinner earlier. There's a really common consequence for most of our verbal operants. I'm going to throw this one on you guys. What is the most common consequence for verbal operants? I'm looking for maybe a 4-letter acronym. And if you can spell out that acronym, like extra cool points. Even more bonus cool points if you can explain what that acronym or if you can explain like the definition of that acronym. Ooh, so many cool point opportunities. Nice. Philomena's the first one to get that full write out of the acronym. Cool, yeah, Allie's got an example of that too. Very cool. So it's not just praise. A praise would be an example. It can be a little bit more than that too. Okay, yeah, Barbara, I like where you're going with that one. Nice. Yeah, Julie's got it on. Cool, yeah, Giselle, I like where you're going with that. Yeah, the question we're doing, there's one consequence that's very common for our verbal operants. So the question is, what is that acronym? Extra points if you can spell out that acronym. Even extra cool points if you can define that acronym, like if you can define that term in this context. Yeah, I can give money for my verbal responses. I'm not getting money for my verbal. I guess I kind of am getting money for my verbal responses, but regardless, I wouldn't say that's a common consequence of verbal operants. Cool, yeah, I like where Lisa's going with that. That looks good. Yeah, Carrie, good, nice basic definition there. I like it. Okay, yeah, Anissa on the right track. Not bad. Yeah, I like Lisa's examples. Those are really good. Yeah, Amy, that's good. Sweet. So the most common consequence for our verbal operants is going to be GCSR, which stands for Generalized Conditioned Social Reinforcement. So we all know reinforcement or reinforcer. It's a stimulus that increases the frequency of the response that it follows. The social component means that it comes from other people. Conditioned means that it's a learned reinforcer. So it's not necessarily a natural reinforcer from birth. And then generalized means that it's learned through pairing with many different things. So if we kind of like break down each word there, that's what they all mean. Here are some brief examples of GCSR. So we can think about praise. It can be approval and or coherence as well. So like, for example, like if I engage in response, like my grandma just died, like you guys aren't gonna like that's not true, by the way. But let's just say I engage in that response, like you guys aren't gonna like praise me and be like, yeah, good job, Nick, your grandma died, cool. But it's like no, that's not the reinforcer for that. But it might just be like coherence, or getting like some kind of reaction to it that is reinforcing. So it's like, oh, like I'm like the reaction might be like, oh, I'm like so sorry to hear that, or like that must be really tough for you, as like the reinforcer for that. But all of those would fall under this category of generalized conditioned social reinforcement. So it's not always praise. Yeah, I like acknowledgement can be good, approval, and or coherence. Like I understand that, or like yes, that makes sense. Cool, looks good, looks good. The only exception to that is going to be the mand, and this has a different reinforcer, and we'll talk about that when we break down our contingencies. So most of our verbal operants, except for the mand, have this same consequence. So they all have like this generalized conditioned social reinforcement as the reinforcer. So when we're focusing on our verbal operants, so when we want to break down these ABC contingencies, we mostly focus on the relation between the antecedent and the form of the behavior. So we're not as focused on the consequence. Like in most analyses, we're focused really on that consequence. What is it? But in verbal behavior, since that consequence is mostly the same, we really want to focus on that relationship between the antecedent and the form of the behavior. Cool, cool, cool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to break down the ABCs of all of our different operants. We're going to start with the mand here. So we have a specific antecedent, a specific behavior, and a specific consequence. I'd like you to spell out that contingency into chat. Make sure you get all three components, A, B, and C, and we'll take a look in just a minute. And we've got 97 people here, 70 likes on the video. That's a pretty good ratio, but if we want to do another giveaway, I think we gotta get that just a little bit higher. All right, so again, we're looking at the mand. What is our antecedent behavior consequence for our mand? Let's get all three of those in your answer. For these, we're looking at like basic components. If you want to do it as an example, I would recommend doing it after you label the basic components. But examples are cool too. Cool, I like Cambry. That looks really good. Cambry's always killing it here. Yeah, Jackie, I like where you're going. Good. Yeah, Camilla, Annie looks good. Annie, what do you think about that consequence, though? Here's another question. Can you man for something that you don't see? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. You can totally man for things that you don't see. Like, I really want ice cream right now, but I don't see ice cream. There's no ice cream in front of me. Cool. Answer's looking pretty solid. I'm liking it. Yeah, Rashon, I like where you're going. Yeah, Julie stole my example. Maybe we're just like always ice cream. Maybe we're both just always ice cream fiends. I've been so good at like not getting as much ice cream, but I'm doing like this 80-mile biking event on Saturday, and then I'm totally gonna get ice cream after. Like, it's gotta happen. Like, I earned it at that point. I'm scared, guys. I like signed up for this crazy cycling event, and I don't know if I'm prepared for it or not. So we'll see how I do. I'll report back. Yeah, it's 80 miles and 6,500 feet of climbing. So it's up 3 different mountain passes at 10,000 feet elevation. So we'll see if I make it. I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you posted. All right, Amanda's looking really good here, though, Hero. So our antecedent is going to be an establishing operation. So it's going to be some kind of MO that's increasing the value of something either as a reinforcer or as an aversive stimulus. We've got the behavior is going to be a request for a specific reinforcer, and the consequence is going to be that specific reinforcer. So like, I really want ice cream right now. I say, give me the ice cream, and then that's reinforcer has a history of reinforcement with receiving that specific reinforcer ice cream. Cool. Yeah, if this event were in Vegas, I would die. That heat is crazy. All right, looks really great for the man. Let's move on to our tact now. So let's do the same thing. Let's get our ABCs for our tact. What you guys got? What you guys got? I'm liking the answers coming out so far. Looking pretty good. Carrie, Camilla, Shantae, all looking good. Yeah, Samantha, I like that. I know, Denver's pretty hot too, but not like Vegas hot. Cool, yeah. Anissa, Suzette, I like where we're going. Anissa, can we have a tact if we don't see something? Awesome, answers looking great. Let's get a few more seconds here and we'll review. Nice, yeah, good, Amy. D-Town, Katarina, nice. I've never heard Denver called D-Town. I'm from like Detroit area, so usually like the big D is Detroit. Yeah, you have, Amy, it shows. All right, let's look at this one. Our tact is going to be a nonverbal stimulus. Our behavior is the label of that stimulus, and we have GCSR for our reinforcer, generalized conditions of social reinforcement. So nonverbal stimulus, this does not need to be something that you see. It's something that you can experience as well. So if you smell something like, hey, it smells like burnt popcorn, or if it's like, hey, like it feels sketchy over here, and it's like that might not even be something very salient. It's just like it kind of just like feels sketchy over here. I guess we were just talking about Detroit, but it's kind of funny how that relation came up. Anyway, so it can just be any type of non-verbal stimulus. It doesn't even necessarily have to be tactile, but if it's just like, if you get a feeling, or like it feels hot and steamy, or it feels like love is in the air or whatever, those could all be non-verbal stimuli that could evoke a tact. Awesome. Looks good. How about intraverbal? Let's get our ABCs for intraverbal. If we get 150 likes on the video, we'll give away a B-Slayer course today. So you guys, we gotta really push for that if you want it. 150 likes on the video, and we'll give away a B-Slayer. Yeah, so these verbal operants that we're talking about, these are just kind of like the pure forms of these verbal operants. Obviously, language is very complex, and a lot of verbal responses contain multiple verbal operants within them. If you want to get more into that, then you'll have to check out the B-Slayer course. But yeah, we're just going over the basics of verbal operants today. If you already have the B-Slayer course, then you're winning, and you're like about to pass the exam soon, Gisela. So you're killing it. Yeah, we might have to do another B-Slayer exclusive study session soon. That was fun. I liked that. That was really fun. Cool. I'm liking where these answers are going. Nice, Jameson. Testing Tuesday. Good luck, brother. Yeah, these are looking good. Camry, I like where you're going. Yeah, Stephanie looks good. Cool, Lisa. I'll take that. Nice, Stony PA. Yeah, the Beat the Beast 3 is a killer. All right, looking good here for intraverbal. Our antecedent is going to be some kind of verbal stimulus. So tact is going to be a nonverbal stimulus. Intraverbal is going to be a verbal stimulus. The behavior is going to be a related verbal response, and then our consequence is going to be GCSR. So verbal stimulus antecedent, related verbal response. So it could be like responding to a question. It could be like finishing somebody's sentence, or like finishing a song lyric, anything like that. And then that is given like that approval, praise, coherence, etc. Sweet. Looks good. Well, those are our elementary verbal operants. Let's talk a little bit about formal similarity versus point-to-point correspondence, and then we'll get into our other two categories of verbal operants. So formal similarity is something that is very commonly mistaught. So we talked at the beginning of class that form of a response refers to both the type of response that it is, so whether it's vocal or text or a sign, but it also refers to the content of that response. So for example, like if I say, how are you? That is a different form than saying, I'm really good today. So they are both vocal responses, but they have different content, which makes them have different forms. So when we're talking about formal similarity, we are, again, looking at the relationship between the antecedent and the verbal response that we're looking at. But the response form needs to be the same. So it's not just the response modality. So it's not just like vocal, vocal. It also needs to have the exact same content to have the same exact form. So if I said, how are you? And you said, how are you? Those responses would have formal similarity. But if I said, how are you? And say, I'm really good, those responses don't have formal similarity, even though they're both vocal. So for formal similarity to be present, the content of the response needs to be exactly the same as well. A lot of different places teach this incorrectly. This is the proper way, though. This is Skinner. This is Cooper. This is the proper way to analyze formal similarity. I know. Any minds blown here? Is anybody else hearing this for the first time here? So it's not just the same sense mode. It needs to be the same exact content as well. We've got Barbara is blown away. Yeah, several people here. Yeah, there you go, Anissa. Yeah, right on track. Same sense mode is going to be like the same modality. So like vocal response versus like a vocal antecedent when vocal response. But it also needs to be the exact same content. So, for example, like if like in an echoic, these have formal similarity because if I say strawberry and you say strawberry, then those are the same modality and content. But if I say strawberry and you say raspberry, then those do not have formal similarity with each other because they are not the exact same content. Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right. Well, hopefully your minds aren't too blown here. Yeah, so Barbara has an example here. If I say, how are you? And you say good, those responses do not have formal similarity because they are not the same content. Yeah, intraverbals do not have formal similarity. So formal similarity, again, this is talking about the response form and the content. And formal similarity only applies to our duplics. Let's get into point-to-point correspondence now. So point-to-point correspondence, again, is a relationship between our antecedent and our behavior. And this means that we have a meaningful and exact relation between our stimulus and our behavior. So this, again, relates to our content, but it doesn't also relate to the response form or like the response modality. So, for example, like if I wrote down, how are you? And then you say, how are you? Those responses would have point-to-point correspondence, but they would not have formal similarity because the response modalities or response forms would be different. And don't worry, guys, we're gonna get more into these as we break down our duplics and codics. Point-to-point correspondence, this applies to our duplics and our codics, where formal similarity only applies to our duplics. All of our elementary operants that we just discussed prior, they do not require formal similarity or point-to-point correspondence either. Cool, cool. We feeling okay with these? Yeah, we're going to break down our operants next. So let's start with our duplics. Remember, duplics are an easy way to remember our duplics is that we're just duplicating our antecedent. These have both point-to-point correspondence and formal similarity. So again, duplicating our antecedent. Here are our 3 different duplics. We have echoics, mimetics, and copying text. Let's go ahead and break down our echoics first. So I'm going to throw this back at you. What is our antecedent behavior consequence for our echoics? Be really careful here with your vocal versus verbal. Hint, hint. So again, we're doing our ABCs for our echoics. Let's see what y'all got. All right, lots of good answers coming through so far. Samantha, Barbara, Camilla, Marichu, Cambry on the right track. Yeah, I'm liking where we're going. Looking good. Cool. Yeah, these are looking pretty good overall. I'm liking where we're going. Let's take a few more seconds. Yeah, Tyler looks good. Yeah, there you go, Yiggies. That looks good. Alrighty. Let's check this one out. Our antecedent, is it vocal or verbal? It is vocal stimulus. So we have a vocal antecedent. The behavior is going to be a copy of that vocal antecedent. And then we see GCSR as our reinforcer. So careful with this one. Vocal means vocal cords. So echoics only apply to vocal copying. We are copying that antecedent, and then we have our GCSR as like that approval. Sweet. Looks good. This one is probably less familiar for you, but let's see if you can nail down the mimetics. We'll probably go a little faster on this one. Since you probably don't know this one as well, but again, we're just thinking about we're duplicating our antecedent. So what is our antecedent that we're duplicating here? Yeah, so all of these duplics, these all have point-to-point correspondence and formal similarity. Ooh, Philomena's being brave here. Yagi's also brave. I'm liking it. Ooh, Shantae, an even better answer there. I like that. Yeah, Amy, that looks great too. Looking pretty good overall. Let's take a few more seconds and we'll review our mimetics. All right, let's do it. Our mimetic is, our antecedent is going to be a motor verbal stimulus. So some people just had motor movement here, but it is important to add this verbal stimulus in here since we're looking at verbal behavior. So for example, if I just like put my arms up, Like, that doesn't necessarily communicate anything, but if I gave you like a peace sign, then like that communicates something. So careful, it has to be motor and verbal. You can think about this as like simple gestures, or it could also be sign language. Okay, Crystal. Crystal has it. This means touchdown. I like was not thinking about that at all. I'm like not a sports person, but I guess it does communicate something. The behavior is going to be a copy of that motor verbal stimulus because, again, we're working with our duplex where we're duplicating that antecedent. And as usual, we've got our GCSR as our consequence. Good. Awesome. All right. Our last one here, copying text. I mean, even if you have never heard of this verbal operant before, I think you might be able to get it or at least take a good stab at it. So let's check this one out. What is our ABCs for copying text? Let's see it in chat. We're copying text. We're doing our ABCs. It's just like we're back in kindergarten. Do they like teach writing in school anymore? It's just everything on computers now. Cool, I'm liking these answers. They're looking good. Yeah, Siobhan on the right track. Yeah, there you go, Amanda. Good, Allie. I'm okay with them not teaching cursive anymore. Like, that's really not that useful, I feel. But you should learn how to write. All right, looking really good, everyone. For copying text, we've got a written stimulus as our antecedent. So it's going to be some kind of written out text. Our behavior is going to be a copy of that written stimulus, and then we have GCSR as our consequence. Good. Awesome. So yeah, this would be like a written, it should say written verbal stimulus. So if it's a smiley face is kind of like on the edge. So if you're like, it kind of depends, like, is that communicating something or not? If it's like used to like communicate like how you're currently feeling and then they copy that, like, yeah. But if it's just like a drawing, then like not necessarily like a verbal response. So think about it as like it has to be a verbal response as well. Cool. All right. Well, those are our duplex. Again, duplex mean that we're duplicating our antecedent. These have both point-and-point correspondence and formal similarity. Our next category is our codix. You can think about codix as that we're decoding our antecedents. So these have point-to-point correspondence, but they don't have formal similarity. So they're going to contain the same content, but they aren't going to be in the same response form. Let's start with our textual behavior. Let's see if you guys can nail down our ABCs for this one. Let's see it in chat. Textual ABCs. Let's see it. Yes, I love Danielle flexing in chat. Hell yeah. Knowledge is powerful, and when you get the correct answer, you must feel strong. All right, let's see what we got here. We've got textual behavior. Cool. Yeah, Allie, I like where you're going. Nice. Good, Amy. Nagdeal, that sounds more like copying text. Nice catch, Jameson. Yeah, there you go, Camilla. Yeah, Chavone, good example there. Good, Amber. All right, I'm liking this. Yeah, both Julies. Very nice job. Cool. Let's go check this one out. So our textual responses, our antecedent is going to be a written antecedent. Our behavior is reading the text. So note that this could be vocal reading, but it would also be considered a textual behavior if you're privately reading. So consider that as well. And then our consequence is our GCSR, Generalized Conditioned Social Reinforcement. So it's like, yep, you read that right. Cool. Did it. Sweet. All right. Excellent. Let's go ahead and do our last one here. We've got transcription. Let's get our ABCs down for transcription. What do you guys got? Nice. Shantae is fast on this one. Good. Good, Barbara. Good, Philomena. Yeah, nice, Allie. Cambria, I would be careful with that word textual here. Yeah, Gungeon, that looks great. Excellent. These are looking great, crew. Yeah, nice, Annie. Ooh, transcribing music. I don't think music is necessarily a verbal behavior. That's an interesting one, actually. It's behavior mediated through other individuals, but sounds don't necessarily communicate something. You got me there. I have to think about that one. I wouldn't think about that for the exam, though. All right. right, let's look at transcription. So our antecedent is going to be a vocal stimulus. We have writing down the word. So this could either be with a pen or it could be typing, anything that kind of produces the words in some kind of text format. And then we have GCSR is our consequence. Cool, looks good, looks good. I know, but like if you're just using like notes though for like the music example, like I don't know if like a chord progression really says something, you know? Like I don't think it works. I don't think it's necessarily a verbal response. Cuz like music can be like so like self-masturbatory too. Not as a bad thing. I mean, I'm a musician myself, but all right, anyway, let's move on from that. Let's get into our last verbal operant, which is listener responding. Listener responding is responding to the verbal communication of another individual in a specific way. Here are our ABCs for listener responding. So our antecedent is going to be some kind of verbal instruction. No, it doesn't say vocal instruction. It could be something that was told, or it could be something written down as well. Behavior is following that instruction, and then our consequence lastly is GCSR. Good. Nice, Amy. I'm glad it's all clicking. Perfect. All right. So let's talk about tricky stuff, how the BCBA exam is going to try to trick you on verbal operant questions. First of all, like they might have a prompt that contains multiple verbal responses or multiple speakers in the questions. Just like our basic contingency questions, you really want to stay oriented on what the question is asking about and which particular verbal response that they want you to analyze. So that's how you really counteract that. Is really stay focused on which verbal response they want you to look at. They also might trick you by looking at the past history and not always like the current moment. So for example, like something might not receive GCSR in the moment, but it could have had a history of receiving GCSR in the past. So kind of keep an eye on like the past history of it. It doesn't always need to be present in the current moment. You might also have like some weird antecedents. So like, for example, you might see like an intraverbal that has motor communication. So like keep an eye out for those. You might also see things like tacting abstract traits or feelings. So we talked about earlier, like I'm like tacting that like feels like a little bit sketchy in here, or it feels like love is in the air. Like those are more like abstract things, but they would still be considered nonverbal stimuli that would be considered tacts. You also might see some disguised operants. My favorite one of these is a concealed mand. So like it looks like a tact, but is really a concealed mand. So like an example of this, let's say like you're at a party and like there's a pizza on the kitchen counter at the party, and you're like, oh, that pizza smells really good. And like that might look like a tact, but if it has like a history of reinforcement of receiving that piece of pizza, then it's actually going to be a mand. So that would be like a dual operant, or it'd be like a tact and a mand. But you want to look at like what is that most prominent antecedent there? Is it just the presence of the nonverbal stimulus, or is it really like that MO? Like what, and the way to like isolate that is like, would the person say that like that pizza smells really good, like if they weren't hungry at all, like if they just ate like a 10-course meal or something? So if they wouldn't, then we know like the EO is the primary control there. Yeah, Julie, the same thing here. Like a kid says like, I wish I had a cookie while you're eating a cookie. Absolutely. If you were to mix verbal operants with listener and speaker, what's an example of like a tact listener? I don't think you can really have like a tact listener responding. Listener responding is also like not always considered to be a verbal operant, but I just felt like it's important to throw into the mix. Because listener responding, it's more of like the control of a speaker, and it's not necessarily a verbal operant, because like the reinforcement is not always like verbal. So like, for example, like, well, I'm in like paragliding school and I hear like the instructors yelling on the radio like, hey, put your hands up. Like the reinforcement for that is like the glider is now performing well, not necessarily like the approval from the instructor. So listener responding, not technically a verbal operant, but it's kind of like related, so I threw it in here. All right. Well, that's our tricky stuff. Let's get into a quiz to wrap this up. Our like counter is looking pretty good. Well, we'll do a giveaway at the end, but if we get to 100 likes before we get to the end of this quiz, we'll probably give away something even better than just another mock exam. So if you haven't hit that thumbs up button yet, you know what to do. All right, let's look at our first one. We've got June grabs her dog's attention and says, come here, and June's dog comes. What verbal operant did the dog display? What do you guys think here? GCSR for a listener responding. Nice, these are looking good. Like a couple rationales here too. Philomena, Stephanie looks good. There you go, Amy. Our veterans know what to do. The rationales are the best way to learn on these. Good, nice Shantae. Good job, Gunjin. All right, looks like you guys are nailing this one. This one is going to be listener responding. So the dog was given a verbal command. The dog responded to that verbal command. And then we're all groovy. So listener responding here. Nice job. All right, next one. We've got Remy had to run to the bathroom during an important lecture. He asked his neighbor to see their notes real quick to write down. Which verbal operant best describes the writing of the notes? What do you guys think? Cool, some good rationales coming through. Nice job, Amanda, Cambry, Tyler, Philomena. Good. The other go, Suzette. Yeah, nice, Jameson. Loving these crew. Keep it up. Very nice, very nice. All right. This one is going to be F, our copying text. So this one we had written text as our antecedent, and then we're copying that text to get all those notes down. So pretty straightforward. We're copying text. Nice job. Okay, next one up, we've got Harold asks, want to play ball after school? Jimmy replies, I'm down, let's do it. Which verbal operant best describes Jimmy's behavior? Bonus point if you want to do Jimmy and Harold's responses here. Label those responses if you're feeling extra spicy. Who's feeling spicy? I want to win some cool points. Coral's feeling spicy. Good, nice, Barbara. Looking good, looking good. Yeah, nice, Jameson. Yeah, Seda looks good. Awesome, loving this, crew. For Jimmy's response, we've got C. We've got an intraverbal. So, Harold's response was a man. He's manning for information. Want to play ball after school. And then Jimmy's response is an intraverbal because we had a verbal antecedent. We have a related verbal response and GCSR to follow this one. Excellent. Good job. All right. Sorry, excuse me. For this one, we've got, while stuck in Sandy's dome, SpongeBob croaks out, "Sandy, I need water." And Sandy replies, "A wallet, a watch," and does not provide him water. Which verbal operant best describes SpongeBob's behavior? What do you guys think? Yeah, how could you not love SpongeBob? Grew up on that shit. I know, it's a good one, Rashawn. Good. I'm liking the answers here. Looking really nice, crew. Looking at our like counter, we're inching up towards that 100. We got 95. Let's see if we can break that 100 and we'll give away something extra juicy. I need it. Yes. These are great. Loving all the rationales here too. Alrighty, looks good, looks good. Our answer here is going to be A, the man. So, main thing here is that this verbal response it was evoked by our establishing operation. So he was drying out in Sandy's dome. He needs his water. And even though he did not receive it in this very instance, this does have a past history of reinforcement for receiving water. So the man is still an accurate label of this verbal response. Nice job here, crew. Way to go. We've got a few more here. Let's check it out. Gary is texting while driving when another driver honks at him and flips him off. Gary puts his phone down and flips him off back. Which verbal operant best describes Gary flipping the driver off? All right, looking good so far. I'm liking where we're going. Nice, Marichu. I like that you have your whole contingency there. Good, Amanda. Good, Stephanie. Good, Philomena. Perfect. Yeah, nice, Barba. Perfect. Looking good here. Looking good. This one is going to be E, the mimetic. So what we had was we had motor verbal imitation going on. We had one person flipped off, and then the other person flipped flipped the other dude off. So motor verbal imitation, we had motor verbal antecedent, copied that motor verbal antecedent, GCSR, where, and again, this isn't necessarily going to be praise, but he's like, I'm pissed because he flipped me off too. So it's like coherence, like, yeah, I get it, cool, whatever. All right, nice job. Next one up, we've got a behavior nerd hears an epic Skinner quote at the UB study hall. And what a strange discovery for a would-be tyrant that the only effective technique of control is unselfish. Obviously referring to reinforcement. And then they write it down for later. Which verbal operant best describes writing down the quote? What a great quote, by the way. Are a little mixed on this one, but all of our rationale responders are nailing it. It's almost like that strategy works. It's crazy, huh? Good, I'm liking these. Yeah, nice job, Amber. Cambry, good. Rashon. Nice, Jessica. I love that, Amanda. Yeah, it's like if you respond really quickly without providing a rationale, sometimes you just make silly errors. So getting in the practice of writing those rationales down is absolutely crucial. Good, Katerina. I know, it's almost like we like want our students to succeed. And like we have a pretty good track record of like getting our students to succeed and pass this exam. Buy the Beast Slayer course. You'll love it. Yeah, Shantae. Fuck yeah. All right, looks good here. This one is going to be transcription. Really nice job here, crew. So for this one, we had a vocal antecedent and we had a written response. So those two have point-to-point correspondence because they are the exact same quote, just one's vocal, one is written, and we're transcribing it down. So think about scribe, and it gets you right there. Keep crunching at it, Katerina. You'll get there soon. All right. Our last question of the evening, and it looks like we did meet our 100 like counter, so thanks everybody for doing that. We will be giving away a super ultimate mock bundle after this. So thanks for all of your participation and for ramping up that like counter. It really helps support the channel. So let's check this last one out. We've got, while riding a roller coaster, Carla says, I don't feel so good, and then vomits on her friend sitting next to her. Getting off the ride, her friend says to Carla, you need to figure this out, bitch. Carla finds them a shower and clean clothes, then they continue riding more coasters. Have a fun day. Which verbal operant best describes Carla's response on the roller coaster? All right, some good answers, some great rationales coming out. Good job, Crystal. Amanda, Barbara. Yeah, Fee looks good. There you go, Cambry. Good job, Julie. Tyler, good. Taylor. Awesome. Nice way to stay focused on this one. There's a lot going on here. Good, Marichu. All right. Looking really nice here, crew. Good job. This one is going to be a tact. So we are looking at Carla's response on the roller coaster. So this response here, I don't feel so good. This one is a tact. So it was evoked by our nonverbal stimulus. She's labeling how she is feeling. And GCSR kind of confirmed because like she vomited on her friend. So like we're not praising her for that, but we are like, okay, yep, that's accurate. Yep, she didn't feel very good. So that one is going to be a tact. Good job. All right. Well, that is our last thing for tonight. Again, if you are looking for some really comprehensive help on the BCBA exam, check out the Behavior B-Slayer course. Our students are tending to increase their scores about 30 to 40 points with this course. And if they stick with it even longer, if you're even farther behind than that, then they have been meeting that mark eventually by continuing to grind at it. If you want to get a discount, you can also use this code UBNERD to get 15% off any of our products on Understanding Behavior Shop. I'll put the link in there right now. This includes our B-Slayer course, and it also includes our bundles. So we have a couple bundles. We've got our Complete Beast Mode bundle. This comes with our B-Slayer course, all 3 of our full-length mock exams, our fluency questions, which are easier questions, as well as our mini mock package, which contains our toughest questions for exam prep. So normally these products will cost you $614 if you buy them separately. In the bundle, you can get them down to $475. And if you use that code UBNERD at checkout, then you'll get it down to just a little over $400. So over $600 worth of stuff for $400. Great deal. If you really want to get serious about studying, this is the package to go for. But like I said, we've made 100 likes on our counter, so we're going to give away a juicy giveaway for this one. We're going to give away a super ultimate mock bundle. This contains our mini mocks, again, which are our most difficult questions, and all 3 of our full-length mock exams packaged at $189 value. And we'll do another random giveaway here. Actually, I already have this up. Let's do one. Let's make it spicy. Let's do 1, 2, 6. I'm feeling 650 for this. So if you'd like to participate, throw one number into chat. Multiple guesses will be disqualified. Closest number is going to win the whole super ultimate mock bundle. If you already have one or a couple of these products, you're welcome to participate. And we'll kind of just fill in the gaps. If you already won this product before, maybe don't participate, but let's see what we got. Who's going to win it? We've got some high numbers. We got some low numbers. We Got earthing in between. Who's going to be our lucky winner? Let's give it 10 more seconds. Last call for numbers. All right, looks like it's slowing down here. We're going to make Amanda Cohen our last guesser. Who is it? We've got 97. All right. Help me out here, Chad. Who's our close? Ooh, I see EL at 95. Oh, man, that's going to be pretty hard to beat. 95 is pretty close. I think that's going to be our winner, EL here. I don't see anything closer. Help me confirm. All right, awesome. We're going to give it to EL at 97. Congratulations. Shoot me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com, and we will hook you up with your super ultimate mock bundle. Congratulations. Awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you guys so much for coming tonight. If you are looking for the best study materials out there, understandingbehavior.shop is the place to go. We've got affordable options with our study hall recording notes and packages. We've got our super ultimate mock bundle, which is pretty affordable compared to a lot of the other materials out there. And it has the highest quality mock exams out there that are pretty similar to the exam, and will give you an idea about how likely you are to pass. And if you're looking for a really fun, relaxing, comprehensive review that will teach you everything that you need to know for this exam, check out the Behavior Beast Slayer course. I promise you will not regret it. You're going to love it. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. If this was your first time here, hopefully you had a really nice time. And hopefully we'll see you back next week where we're going to cover something else. And I appreciate all of your support. Thanks for being a part of the UB community. You guys rule. I couldn't do this without you. Wish me luck on this bike race on Saturday. I'm going to need it. Hopefully I don't die. And hopefully I'll see you next Thursday. And thanks so much. Keep crushing it, and good luck on your upcoming exams, and keep crushing the studying. Stay strong. All right, bye.